Radionova. Dear Vladimir Vladimirovich, 5 years ago, you identified the main milestones that changed the way we look at ecology. You have identified 3 key points, according to which we are currently working. In the 2021 message, you said that, having made a profit at the expense of nature, you should clean up after yourself, and Rusprirodnadzor should control. You said that, in principle, the polluter pays the same for everyone, and we must collect from the negligent. And you have determined that environmental payments should be colored. As a follow-up to this, the government has adopted a significant number of regulatory documents. Key federal laws have been adopted that state that the obligation to eliminate accumulated damage has been established, and you and I will not receive facilities such as Usolye Sibirskoye and Krasny Bor, which we are currently liquidating with federal money. Together with the Russian Union of Industrialists and Entrepreneurs, we are developing a whole technology for how they are decommissioned. A complex reform of extended producer responsibility has been carried out, where the requirements for packaging recycling are prescribed. Either it must be paid, or these payments must be used for waste management reform, MSW reform. This is also all being implemented. As a follow-up to this, we are currently implementing the principle, every environmental ruble should be returned to the environment. We collect 2 types of payments. This is a mandatory payment for each enterprise for negative impacts, for discharges and emissions. And every year we increase the collection, slowly adding 1 billion more. In fact, we are removing those who forgot to pay from the shadows. We are sending a warning and working on preventative measures. At the moment, we are putting 21 billion into the budgets of the constituent entities of the Russian Federation, and each subject can spend it on environmental measures, which they are doing. We are proud of the success of the extended producer responsibility reform. We have raised 20 billion rubles, which is a record amount. We had a plan 7. This year, based on the legislation that has been adopted, we have raised this money. We believe that the entire body of legislation that has been outlined, more than 300 regulatory documents have been adopted in 5 years, would be a good idea to codify. We know that our colleagues from Belarus are working on this, and China is currently developing a very good draft environmental code. And we think it would be nice to return to Valentina Ivanovna Matvienko's proposal, which she voiced at the Nevsky Environmental Forum, to create or discuss an environmental code. This will help us to systematize the legislation, for business to understand what we actually want from it, and for the public to participate in the creation of this document. It will probably take years to do this, but it's time to do it. As supervisors, we certainly monitor the polluter pays principle, and every year the collection rate increases because our demands are increasing. We win almost 87% of lawsuits in the courts. This means that we don't come in vain. And in fact, now everyone knows that if Rusprirodnadzor has come, then we will definitely recover this money, and it will also go to the environment, because all these principles are interconnected. At the moment, one of the significant natural resource users is the subsoil users. We have 25,000 mining facilities under supervision, but only 7% of them are subject to scheduled inspections because the risk is very high. The rest are all working on preventative measures. Today, Roscosmos and I, having satellite images and remote sensing of the Earth, detect 85% of violations thanks to satellite images. We can get to places where the inspector has never set foot with this space eye. All businesses understand that they are not left without attention. We are taking the initiative to make these legally significant requirements for remote sensing of the Earth mandatory, so that we can no longer confirm them in kind, because when we try, we get a picture. Then we go to the place. In 100% of cases, we confirm the result. We haven't had any unconfirmed results. This means that our satellite images are very reliable, and we can see it all. We want to introduce the legal significance of such a tool because it is very important for us. As soon as we do this, we will ease the burden on the inspection staff. We will see what is happening in the Amur region, Magadan, Chita, and in distant, remote regions where we can only get based on weather conditions, sometimes seasonally, sometimes only by helicopter. That's why it's very important to us. We believe that such an initiative would be timely.
When we supervise nature users, we must understand that we are coming to the land of our smaller brothers. As Rosprirоднадзор, we preserve the Red Books. You have launched the Bear Patrol, and now it is called the Presidential Bear Patrol throughout the Arctic. Over the past 5 years, we have observed more than 25 individuals, and we have published a book, a manual for those who work in the Arctic and for those who live there. There were conflict situations. We even flew someone to Moscow, a bear cub. We had such a case. The Moscow Zoo and specialists are helping us. This manual helps to avoid conflicts and behave correctly in the habitat of the largest predator. Today, we are proud of the result. We haven't had a single conflict situation this year. This year, there will be a big event of the Council of the 5 countries of the polar bear habitat in Greenland, Denmark. Canada, the United States, Norway, Russia, and Denmark will gather for such an event in Greenland to discuss the 1973 treaty, and we will talk about best practices. Since Russia has the most humane treatment of a predator, hunting is prohibited in our country, unlike Canada and the United States. We do not hunt a bear, we protect it. We intend to insist on the best practices that we have done.
Speaking of international cooperation, I would like to say that we represent the country on international platforms. These are all UN venues, and we have a large amount of international cooperation. The Basel Convention, the Stockholm Convention, where we discuss persistent pollutants, and of course all the conventions on biodiversity. There are many Russian initiatives. We need to be heard. That's what we're talking about. This year, the CITES Convention is being held in Uzbekistan, and we insist that Russian be one of the mandatory languages because most of the conventions are in all UN languages. This year, Russia will pay for the Russian language itself for more than a dozen countries that use it. And together with the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, we are working to make Russian mandatory for us there. At the Basel Convention, we insist on introducing a Russian amendment on waste disposal and safe handling. There is a big agreement on microplastics underway. Everyone is talking about it now. We started this work 3 years ago. We insist that ecological sites are not a place for trading, they are a place for protection and care. We are saying that all these environmental conventions that we adopt should talk about business preservation, how to protect manufacturers and operate the industrial facilities that we have in a safer way by sharing technologies rather than trading quotas, which in principle we declare at these sites. We are being heard, and at the moment we are defending these approaches of Russia with a number of other countries. In the end, I would like to say that we understand that we cannot cope with many problems on our own, and we are engaged in a large amount of environmental education. We have been going on for 5 years now. Thank you very much. You sent us a welcome speech. We read it to the children several times, 310,000 children in 5 years, 95 countries, 5 continents. We are very proud of our award, called Ecology is Everyone's Business. This year, universities have given us additional points, and a number of universities have provided additional budget places. We are also taking the initiative to make this practice mandatory. Those young people who actively participate in volunteer movements, in environmental education, in the protection of their region should have an advantage. We believe that it would be right for all universities to support such winners or such active guys in ecology and give at least a minimum number of 1 or 2 points. It is very honorable and very significant for young people. Putin. Svetlana Gennadievna, harmful emissions into the atmosphere. We have a corresponding program for 12 cities and so on. Are we accountable for the money invested in equipment or for the actual reduction of emissions? Radionova. You know, the government demands from us. Dmitry Nikolaevich Patrushev, our supervisor, sees us as a verifier and, of course, our minister too. They demand from us a real report, not on paper, but a report on the results of instrumental measurements. The Clean Air Program is a complex program. There are 12 cities, now 29, and a huge number of quota facilities. Now the enterprises tell us about their implemented activities. We check the action plans, and then, based on the results of the annual operation of the equipment, we can tell from the analysis of all this whether they actually completed them or not. Because how is it happening now? The company says, we have introduced the installation. It won't get any better from what they've introduced. It needs to work for a year so that it doesn't turn off tomorrow, so that nothing burns out there. If something breaks, as in any mechanism, it can happen so that it can be replaced, so that it works out clearly, so that we clearly know its contribution. And that's how we work. The first reports have now been sent, and next year we will actually be looking at the results of instrumental control for the first time in a year. Of course, we are waiting for them to equip themselves with sensors, and we will be able to receive this online, because we are not very satisfied with documentary reports. Putin. Good. Thank you.